Hi, welcome back to Adventure Capital. In this episode, Katie speaks with Jim Cummings and PJ McCabe, the co-creators of the beta test. Grand jury prizes at the Sundance and South by Southwest film festivals are a testament to their filmmaking prowess. But what Jim and PJ talk about today is how they're using crowdfunding to change the narrative of producing and distributing movies. After launching in June, they quickly met their investment target and increased their maximum, which they hit almost instantly. Keep listening to find out how they raised $350,000 from 386 investors in 2 months and see where the beta test is now.
Hey, Jim, PJ, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, you guys are actually the first film that we've interviewed for Adventure Capital, so I'm definitely really excited to dig into this. For those listeners who haven't heard of the beta test, could you start by giving us a high-level overview of the film?
Sure.
That'd be great.
So the movie is a thriller about a Hollywood talent agent who receives a letter in the mail inviting him to a no-strings-attached single encounter with an admirer in a hotel room. And he's engaged to be married, and he goes very stupidly, and he's blindfolded the whole time, both parties are, and he never gets another letter, and it drives him insane. So his life starts to collapse around him very dramatically and very comedically, and he tries to chase the guilty culprits down the rabbit hole. And it's a movie about dishonesty and the WGA packaging fees. No, it's about what agents are going through right now and the amount of stress that they have. And it's very funny and very scary and very poignant, we think.
Awesome. So where are you at in the life cycle of the film? Has it been filmed? Is it out yet?
So we just closed our campaign. We're talking with the closing team at Wefunder right now, which is incredible. And we are gearing up with casting and pre-production. We're shooting the film in the fall/winter of this year in Los Angeles. It's an LA movie, which is great because PJ and I are both based out here. It's kind of like the simplest production location-wise for us. And we're reaching out to people who we like for the roles. We did like an open casting call through my social media accounts being like, hey, if anybody wants to act in a movie, send us your reels. So that was like the first aspect of the production after writing the script. And we got like 400 responses from a bunch of really talented people who were in our friend group/peripheral friend groups. And I think we probably cast 10% of the movie just from there. Really talented people who generally don't promote themselves as actors, but are unbelievably talented when given the opportunity.
We've really been focusing on the script a lot the past few months, but now a movie that's so important from an acting standpoint. It's just a lot of very intense, powerful performance and relationships. So the casting process is honestly what we've kind of said one of the most important parts of this process. So we want to have plenty of time to make sure we find the right people to drive this movie with excellent performances.
Right. So, maybe let's take it back a little bit. How did you guys first get into filmmaking and be able to build such an amazing network?
PJ was an actor and writer for many years who I went to school with, and I lived in San Francisco for about 4 years producing animation and commercials as a film producer. I was also doing probably one feature every 2 years for a friend of a friend, and moved down to Los Angeles in 2014 where PJ was living, and we started writing and doing short films together. And we made a short film called Thunder Road in 6 hours in a funeral home that we had rehearsed for 2 months. And then it won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance in 2016. And then we made 9 more single-take short films over the next year and a half. And then we made a feature out of Thunder Road, which won the Grand Jury Prize at South by Southwest 2018, and then got into Cannes 2018. And instead of going through the regular channels of finding a distributor to release it, we self-distributed it and took a bet on ourselves. We partnered with the Sundance Institute, and they gave us a grant to self-distribute. And that kind of opened our eyes up to self-distribution. When you talk to independent filmmakers nowadays, they say that the two biggest problems are financing and distribution. Mm-hmm. And in partnering with Sundance, we kind of cracked the code on distribution. It's become almost fully democratized. You can get your movie into movie theaters just from making phone calls, we've noticed. And then you can get it onto the iTunes store just by going through relatively inexpensive aggregators like Quiver Digital or Distributor. And we wanted to crack the code on financing as a means of helping struggling filmmakers. And I knew about Wefunder, and there were about 2 other movies that had been financed on the platform. And I just thought, well, this is the future. It's no different from what we're doing already, selling shares of our films to people. But let's just try it and see if it worked. And we spent months, building the page, and we were able to raise, probably $100,000 more than we were even asking for in the first 12 days. We were incredibly lucky, and now I feel like it's the future. It's like there's kind of no turning back for us. We made a big studio movie in March that's going to be coming out in theaters, a werewolf movie. But for every one of the other projects that we really can make on our own, it's going to be through crowd equity. And Wefunder has been so incredibly supportive of us. I don't know, it's been this like bizarre track of making movies, and we've just been lucking out every single turn. I don't know. It's been I guess 7 to 10 years of making movies that aren't really ours, that were, we were involved in them as cameo parts as actors or associate producers, and then only in the last 3 years really have we started taking the reins ourselves and saying, you know what, there's no real magic to this thing. You just have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Wefunder has been a huge tool for a lot of independent filmmakers, and I mean, on the business development side, get to talk to a lot of these filmmakers, and I just think the convergence of filmmaking and entrepreneurship is so interesting, because we talk to founders a lot about how you initially got traction and how, like, in the lean startup methodology way, like how you went out and, got your first couple of users. But with filmmaking, I feel like there's such a greater barrier to entry. So yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you guys initially, made your first couple of short films and how you got to that award-winning, Sundance and South by Southwest level, from the very first couple of steps.
I'm literally shrugging in this booth. We've just been lucky. So we were just doing stupid comedy stuff, right? Like we were doing like little sketches,
a lot of goofy bits that we shot for fun, like bored in our living room.
Yeah, and a friend of ours named Tony was making like slightly viral videos. Our buddy Danny Madden was making viral animations, and I was like, okay, well, this is a real world. Like you can just make stuff and put it online, and that's a bit entrepreneurial. And I was like, well, we should just invest in ourselves, right? Like I'm not an actor, but I think I could do a good job. And I was working at a comedy company, and I had this 45-minute commute to work, and I was like, well, I could just write something in this commute. I'm spending an hour and a half in the car every day, and I just workshopped it a bunch and then brought it to PJ, and we kind of like rehearsed it in my living room, and then we shot it in 6 hours. I like blew my entire savings account on this thing, but I knew it was really good. I knew it was going to be good. And then we won Sundance by accident. We submitted it blind. We didn't know anybody. It was like really this glass castle in the sky. Like
we were shooting a mockumentary during Sundance because we didn't think it would ever get to this point where it was actually winning.
We were like making fun of ourselves
at Sundance.
And we had no idea. And accidentally, while we're doing that, we win. And so it's like we're actually filming us in character doing this stupid thing. And then we just, I don't know. I think we just realized like that became a catalyst of a great reminder of like, okay, you're on the right track. Just keep making stuff. And everybody is so supportive over there. I mean, that whole community, Sundance and South by Southwest, are incredibly supportive. And they were like, if you're going to put the film online, send it to us and we'll tweet about it. So like we kind of developed a following by accident through dumb luck. And we just didn't stop. I mean, we were inspired by the Duplass brothers and George Lucas and, Jason Blum and these people who just made products and then that were kind of like Trojan horses, where it's bringing a better product to people that are already paying for something similar. And I was like, okay, well, this could be our career. We could just make small budget movies that we think are more potent than the stuff we're seeing in cinemas and just start. And then we made enough short films, made 10 short films in 2 years that had festival successes kind of all over the world from our little offices in Atwater Village. And then that became this catalyst of like, okay, cool. I think since we've already shot like 90 minutes of content, I think we can make a feature. And then Thunder Road was kind of the best thing that we had. And it was like, all right, well, cool. Let's make this a movie. And we shot it in 14 days. We shot it for $190,000 and submitted to film festivals. It got into a bunch of them. It won some really big ones. And then we were betting on ourselves, not just in the film production, but also in post-production. I helped to edit the movie. I did the trailer. I cut the trailer myself. And then we started doing outreach to foreign buyers when we went to Cannes, and we sold the movie ourselves around the world. Our producer, Ben Wiesner, just like started knocking on doors like at the pavilions out there. And so it's like now our movie is screening in theaters in Greece and Australia. And I realized like there's so much bullshit where people are saying that you need them to be taken seriously. And if you just impersonate a filmmaker or if you impersonate a distributor, you're doing the exact same job. Like, I think the inadequacy traps are the things that prevent people from being able to do it themselves. And if you can just bet on everybody being full of shit, you'll do fine.
The whole fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But everybody's doing that, right? Like even the people who call themselves professionals are terrified of losing their jobs. And the industry is changing so quickly. Everything's becoming democratized. We're in this war for attention, and if you can make something that's better than what's going on in the market, the market responds.
Yeah, I think finding things that are right in your wheelhouse. I mean, every project we've done, especially from an acting standpoint, has been something we know we can crush, and then also finding big ideas, but making it in something that can be shot small, kind of like what Beta is, which is something I've never seen before in cinema, and I'm so excited to share. To have something like that, I think that really helps you. Give something amazing to audiences for something you can do yourself.
In a backyard with your friends.
Yeah. Running around as astronauts in a backyard.
Yeah.
But, like big ideas shot small for audiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. So how do you strike that balance between like making something that people want, which is like the tagline of Y Combinator, versus really making sure this is something in your wheelhouse, but also pushing yourself to just like fake it till you make it and be, greater than what you maybe know right now. How do you strike that balance between those three in the film industry?
Yeah. So we've been very lucky to become adults in the time that we have, in that the industry has changed towards sanitized filmmaking because of these political generational shifts that are happening right now. And digital technology really started to come out. The digital revolution happened when the 5D Mark II could shoot in 24 frames per second with sync sound in 2006, maybe early 2007. And so when we were in film school, we were learning on film, we were learning the craft of what makes a good movie. And then the generation or the class immediately after us kind of graduated off of a cliff where you could walk into a Best Buy and become a filmmaker or a cinematographer, and everybody became more concerned with the style rather than the substance of storytelling. And so because of those two major factors, because we make movies that have real cursing and real violence and real humanity to them, that's what we're betting audiences actually care about, instead of anything else. And craftsmanship too. Like craft is kind of absent from many movies, even the big ones these days. And so we were very lucky to be able to enter the marketplace with the ability to edit. Like we actually know how to do that. We can do it in our offices on a laptop. To care about sound design, to care about performance, to care about visual storytelling more than anybody else, and to work hard. We're a very small team. We have very little overhead. and we can make movies without much help. So,
and with each other and with a group of friends that you trust.
Yeah. So it's only very recently do we kind of bring our eyes up from the road and we're like, oh, wow, this is rare. This is we're in such a privileged position to have such potential energy behind us. And not many people have that privilege. Not many people have a team of people who are willing to drop everything to go out for a week and a half and make a stupid movie where Jim takes his clothes off in a parking lot in Austin, Texas. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think because of the timing that we came about, that plays a major part in why we've been able to do what we do.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine the support from crowdfunding platforms, whether it be Wefunder or Kickstarter or, some of these other channels where you can find your tribe online and find people who identify with your story and your craftsmanship. I bet, it has been very successful and seems to be working for films on Wefunder. So yeah, I'd love to dig into that raise a little bit more. So you guys just closed your round. You raised $350K from, it looks like 400 investors, many of whom you said came from your network. But I'm curious how you ran the campaign logistically. Like when you decided you're going to do this, how did you do the outreach? How did you think about your campaign page and ultimately find this community who would invest in you?
Yeah. So I think only about, out of the 400 investors, how many do you think were in our friend group? I can only think of like 3, right?
Actually, not that many.
Yeah. And we had to kick your dad out.
Yeah, my dad. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, we had oversubscription. We had to turn
turn
people away. And actually, we were only supposed to raise 300, and we were able to raise like 420 in 21 days.
Right.
Wow.
And so we had to turn people away. So we had to open up 350 to sell 5 more shares of the company, which is great. It means that we get to accommodate more investors and respond to everybody who really cared about the project. But I don't think many people were friends of ours. Yeah. I mean, Lee is a good buddy, and he committed. He came in because he loved our earlier stuff and has been a supporter from the beginning. But really, it's kind of been strangers. It's been
large donations from just random people who reached out and we've been in communication with, but had no previous knowledge of them or spoken to them. And
I think that's another weird thing of like where we've been doing stuff outside of crowdfunding and we've been making stuff for so long. This is the first campaign that we've run since we ran the Kickstarter for Thunder Road. And for Thunder Road, we raised $34,000 from the public and made a bunch of incredible friends. And I mean, it was such a fun campaign to run, and what an awesome movie to have done with the crowd and kind of circumvented the Hollywood system. And then with this one, I think it's just people who liked the feature and liked all of our shorts and kind of what we're doing. We had one of our backers, so on Wefunder, it asks the backers to give a description of why they decided to invest in the project. And one of the investors who gave a considerable investment said, "I like what Jim does on Twitter." And it was just like talking about me being inspirational. And that was it. And I was like, okay, I never thought that was going to be something that would be a conversion factor for people, that I'm just a nice guy, like that, just by like helping out other people who are struggling in film and giving out answers. That's something that made somebody want to help us out. And then in running the campaign, I mean, I think we were looking into it in like October. I think we like started doing like a deep dive into what, how to best run a Wefunder campaign. And that just meant building out the page and then sending it to people who we knew who were investors to be like, hey, not asking you to invest, but would you invest in this thing? And like, how should we change this stuff to get a better depiction of investment, or a better depiction of what the movie is going to be and the package is going to be for anybody that would be interested in coming aboard. And we had probably 4 or 5 people watch it and read it, and they were like, yes, this looks good. And then we just kept building it out with the Wefunder team and like having phone calls.
Now too. I mean, investors have now become an integral part of the project. I mean, people that wanted to come in and actually legitimately help. And just widens the team. And
yeah, I think that's the other incredible thing. It's like it's now expanding the investor pool into Silicon Valley and in different markets than I ever imagined. Like we were talking to people who called themselves film financiers at these giant film festivals, and we've been talking to them for years and doing dinners and champagne and like all of the fun stuff that you do in speaking with people who might invest in your movie. But then when given the opportunity to be 2 clicks away from investing in our movie, none of them did. But we had wonderful people come from all over the world, 36 different countries, 30 different states in America, like people who we would never meet otherwise. And it's just kind of creating this lightning rod for anybody. It's no longer just the people who you know or people who they know. It's now everybody. And that's it. Like, to me, that is an incredible sales point for the platform and for the future of Hollywood. Like, why would you continue to talk to people when you don't know if they're ever going to help you, instead of actually just making it public and saying, hey, we're like any other company. We are like any other company who's running an equity campaign. We want to sell shares. If anybody wants to back us, it's literally 2 buttons away. And thank you so much. And that was so appealing to us because we're like, okay, well, this means that we could call up people who we know and say, hey, if you're looking for an opportunity to invest in one of our movies, like you've always said, here's your chance.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's literally available to everyone through regulation crowdfunding, which I think is really cool. I think, definitely films, and a couple of other industries, but, definitely films. It seems like Wefunder has really, established a certain level of product market fit with both sides, the investor, and the film founder or whatever, filmmaker. Yeah, they get a lot out of it. What can your
that's super important to me too. Sorry to interrupt, but that's super important to me too. When I was a kid, I was 25, 26, and I saw a film at South by Southwest called Krisha, and I knew the director. His name is Trey Edward Schultz. He's a very nice kid, and I came on as an associate producer of that movie. And I invested in the film. I came on after seeing it because it was incredible. It's one of the best movies I've seen in several decades. And I came on as an associate producer to help out. And in doing so, that became my grad school. So like I was able to learn kind of everything what it was like to make this movie, that it kind of demystified the experience in a way that film school didn't teach me. They kind of glorified filmmaking and directors, and it made it untouchable rather than something very palpable that you can make a movie in a bathrobe and flip-flops that can stand the test of time. No offense to Trey's fashion sense, but yes, offense to Trey's fashion sense. So that became this incredibly valuable experience to me, and that's the goal that we want to do. Like, making a film is such a fun, collaborative experience, and just being on any of our sets, like we had many associate producers on the Thunder Road feature, and now all of them are making their movies. Like, if they can see me be an idiot, in a parking lot making this stupid thing, and it works and plays well on the world stage, that is directly collaborative, directly inspirational of the next generation of filmmakers. And that is such a fulfilling experience in a way that nothing else really is. It's like a studio, except it's not segregating. Right. It's helpful in a neat way.
Right. Yeah, I was just scrolling through some of the grapevine on your profile to see what other investors had submitted, and there's so many that are. I love this team. They're super inspirational. One says, "I heard Jim talk when he came to London. I'm very interested to help out. I'm really inspired." It's such a ripple effect, and I assume you plan on sharing the final product with the investors, and they're going to be able to be the first viewers, which is so cool of an opportunity to have as an investor, I think, as well.
Yeah, we have something very special planned
for sure.
for the screening. The movie's about getting purple envelopes. And I can't say any more than that. But yes, there's going to be we want to do a big screening for all the investors, and that's it. It's like that they get to see it first. That's the fun stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. So a couple of questions that we normally ask everybody in the podcast is, what would a piece of advice be for somebody else, in this case, specifically a filmmaker looking to launch a campaign on Wefunder? And then what is a more general piece of advice for somebody maybe looking to make their first film ever that you could share?
For the second question, anytime somebody says that they want to make their first feature, I tell them to make a feature first. Shoot something on an iPhone in a Walmart with their friends, because making short films and then going into feature filmmaking is a very different duration. And to hold an audience's attention over 90 minutes, you kind of have to do it once and screw it up. And so I always say that, make something that's 90 minutes that you can shoot for nothing and do the catering yourself with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in your neighborhood if you can. And then for running a Wefunder, I think some of the best stuff that we did was we just posted about it at every hour of the day, because it's a global campaign, and you don't know when somebody is waking up in the morning or going to bed and has direct access to, seeing a tweet in their feed or a Facebook post or whatever. And then we just made cool video content. Like PJ and I in our offices literally just like made selfie videos of us talking and cut something together in like a day, and like just made something about our process and who we are. I think that's it. People are investing in you. They're investing and trusting in you to make something great. And so like we did as much inclusion of behind the scenes stuff of our last film, and like tried to make something exclusive for our investors. And we're making these like exclusive videos for them. But really, that's it. It's like, make something that showcases why it's going to be important and how you can ensure that you'll get their money back with interest.
Right. Yeah, I love that. We always encourage founders to upload even just a plain iPhone video of themselves, because that's exactly right, is investors invest in the team and the founder, especially at an earlier stage. So that's really exciting that worked out. Can you share maybe the next steps for the beta test and what you have coming up that you're excited about for your team?
Yeah. We've just been going through like lens tests and camera tests of different cameras, usually just through YouTube videos, but we have this Panavision grant of $60,000 that gives us a grant of gear. And so we have access to kind of like the best gear in the world, which is ridiculous. And now we're like, okay, well, now we have the opportunity to make it look unbelievable. What should we do here? And just talking to cinematographers and reaching out to the celebrities who we know on Twitter, which is really bizarre that's how the system works nowadays, for these smaller parts in the film. And then Natalie, our producer, has just done a breakdown of the script. So we're like locking down locations. We have to have this like hotel location, and then like these beautiful Malibu mansions. It's like this kind of beautiful, like wealthy movie. And so we're like knocking on doors saying, hey, can we shoot in your house for 12 hours? So I mean, it's just the practical stuff. It's just going down a checklist of everything that we need to gear up for November and finding the best possible people for even the smallest roles. Like every single performance matters in this movie, and we've been very lucky in finding great people already.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's super exciting. I'm excited to follow along with the updates and hopefully get a chance to see the final product as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for coming on the podcast. Like I said, this was the first film interview that we've done. It's always super interesting to get an inside scoop of what's happening. So yeah, just really appreciate your time and wish you guys the best of luck with the beta test.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Venture Capital is brought to you by your fundraising team here at Wefunder, which consists of Johnny Price, Katie Powers, and myself, Oliver Foyahan. We'll be sharing the adventures of one of our Wefunder founders every other week. If you have any comments, ideas, suggestions, or would just like to find out more about Wefunder or our founders, don't hesitate to contact us at hello@wefunder.com. We'll see you next time.